Enrich the here and now is the affirmation of the day. Savor the juice. Slow your sip. Can you feel the pulp? Smell the scent. Dissect the flavor for a while. You can maximize now. Don't just take a swig of juice and walk away. There are better analogies, but I've juiced before and you see how much goes to waste. How much the consumer or drinker takes for granted. They think the value is just in that big swig of juice, gulping it down. Like most processes, the value's in the process. I was longing for richness in life. A partner, a family, a juicier this or that. But in front of me was everything that I needed to enrich. The budding friendships to build, the garden to sit in more, the sunshine to bask in, the space for quieting the mind that I would have dreamed of 5 years ago. Now these opportunities for stillness pass by with an absent mind at times, lost to plans of the future, fantasies of someone not here, to a better place in my ego's mind, but not mine. Ego mind is not mind. It's a small compartment within the greater awareness who shouts loudly to distract us from here. Here is all that's real. Here is what's rich. How can we enrich it further? That's where the juice analogy comes back in. Savor every sip. Hey you, I'm Anissa. Today's video is for anyone who's focused on enriching their present. If you felt a feeling of longing to be elsewhere, wanting a new job maybe, but you have a good one, it's just a bit stagnant, wanting newness, wanting more exploration, but actually ultimately knowing that you have a level of contentness that's available to you in the present, that nothing needs to really be disrupted, but that you need to experience more gratitude for where you're at right now, because things don't have to be completely remodeled and changed for them to feel anew. You're learning to savor the moments of pause. You're learning what healthy is. You're learning that healthy isn't necessarily highs and lows and excitement, but sometimes it is smooth. Sometimes it's peace. Most of my videos are reflections and stories and sharing from my own lived experience, as I believe that we are all each other's healers, and by my sharing my story with you and takeaways and wisdom, it provides you a lens and a mirror to be able to see yourself more clearly. If you've enjoyed these videos, definitely subscribe to this channel for more. If you're new here, welcome. Pleasure to have ya. And if you enjoy this video, I recommend liking so that we can keep the algorithm supporting videos like this. Sometimes we can find ourselves looking towards the future as a fix to the present moment, rather than actually enriching our present here and now. This video is for you if you found you hit these plateaus in life sometimes where job's not exciting, relationships not exciting, career, social life, spiritual life, there's a level of stagnation you feel like in these areas, but you know it's not the thing. You know it's not these external things, you know it's a you. It's a you that needs to pay deeper attention to what's in front of you, to have more gratitude for it, to have more attunement to the ways that you can enrich it. Sometimes we can be so convinced by the stories, oh my gosh, I just need better friends, a car, a nicer house. Like, actually, if I just lived by the beach, actually, if I just had these perfect parents growing up, it would feel differently. If I have these career milestones, there's always a story around why it could be changed. But sometimes we have to be in the present moment and accept that based on where we are here and now, there's so much opportunity for learning and enriching and building a deeper relationship with what's currently in the front of us, rather than pushing it aside and getting something new. Because with that new thing, whether it's a new relationship, career, family member, XYZ, possession, you'll still need to cultivate the same qualities of appreciation, of gratitude, of presence for that thing that's in front of you that's new. So for the video today, I'm kicked off again with the writing of this week that I highly encourage you to do, to explore your own creative expression. I found creativity to be one of the most healing forces in my life, and so I highly encourage you to explore channeling your voice into the world, your creativity through various means of expression, whether it's dance or pottery or cooking or sewing or anything, also non-physical, singing, basking in the joy that is life. Being creative is not necessarily to make something physical that people deem as art, but it's to be in the expression of allowing energy to flow through you, life force energy, emotion to flow through, to be channeled out, so what you're feeling inside doesn't get trapped into your body, so those energies aren't stagnant, so that they're moving. And when they move through you, then you have space for the newness that you're craving. So for today's video, I'll share how this became relevant for me, as I did in my writing, but more specifically in a story of my week, some takeaways from that, and that's it. So this topic of enriching the present became relevant to me, and it's forever relevant. I think that the lesson that we're most qualified to teach is the one that we most need to learn. And so I constantly return to mindfulness as the lesson for me, as a mindful muse, as a person who's deeply dedicated to a meditative practice, to living more mindfully, more consciously, to be more engaged with the present, because I need it so much. I think I was born with just such a wild ego, and it's been such a pleasure to counterbalance it with the other parts of the mind. As I shared in my writing, our ego shares a compartment, and during times, if we're insecure, if we're fearful, it can feel like it's the dominant voice in our mind and in our thoughts, but we are the observer of those thoughts. We are the awareness. And once you reach awareness stage, then you can tune into many other voices and parts of your being that are more guided by love than fear, that are more true to your soul, that are more expressive and coming from a place that will actually empower you and others in your life, a healed version of you. But anyways, this topic became relevant for me this week as I was going through another cycle of wanting change, reoccurring feeling of wanting to improve my home life. I can be like, I'm single, I'm childless, I live in this new city where I don't have my best friends, I have a dying dad. I can go into all these stories of victimization around my current present state, and it wasn't until getting a bird's eye view that I step away, or by dissecting and challenging those thoughts that I step away and I'm like, that wasn't really the truth. We have to know that the universe is constantly guiding us. And though we might be in a victimization story, we can choose to retire that story, to choose the manifestor story of consciousness, where we say, oh, actually, I chose this. I chose to be in a place of discomfort. I chose to have a lacking in certain areas of my life so that I can learn the contrast, so that I can also nurture other areas and facets of my life, so that I could have an expanded experience. I'm not certain of what the reason was for the choices that I made, but I knew that they were guided by something beyond me. And I trust more in that than I do in the ego's stories around victimization. Applying this to a story this week, I had a night where I went to bed crying, feeling these stories and feeling the aloneness and feeling just the emptiness, the spiritual aridity of my life, because it's not homey with a child and a partner and all this and then this and then this and this. And anyways, I can go on around specific things that I would like to upgrade, but I don't want to bring too much attention to them because they will be happening in my life. It was funny because I went to bed crying, and then the next day I woke up and I felt amazing. I really felt amazing. I was like, what a joy to live like an ascetic and simultaneously get to live in LA and be an actor and be doing all these things that I love and appreciating this new way of living. I went to a wellness event and a friend was saying, wow, like you seem like you're thriving and doing well. And I was telling her this story at this event. I hadn't seen her in a few months, of how we sometimes show, different parts of our stories or experiences, and they're just a portion, and we could always rework the story And sometimes we don't rework the story to benefit ourselves in our mind. We might on social media, you might be updating and highlighting the best of your life, but in your mind, what is the highlight reel? Are you living in the highlight reel of your mind? Are you actually telling yourself the truth behind the things that you're showcasing to the world? Because oftentimes there can be a little bit of a contrast. We can be showing on our highlight reel of our story, I went to dinner, it was so amazing, but then feel a deep loneliness inside. How can we actually make more alignment between our inner and outer worlds? So we're like, I had a wonderful dinner alone. I felt some loneliness, but then I also came back to gratitude. And it can be a complex story that we allow to exist in our minds, even if we're sharing little bits and portions with the outer world. We need to come back to being more truthful with ourselves and honoring the full landscape of what it is to be human, which is going through the waves of emotion, going through the processing of these experiences, and sometimes falling into victim consciousness, but also being able to step out of that and be able to raise our vibration to a higher level where we have the greater perspective on the choices that we're making, and having faith in those choices, having trust in those choices, having trust in the voice that's beyond the ego. Going back to the night that I was crying in the bed alone, me who fell asleep with that story, and then the me that woke up, the me who woke up had no story. Our natural state of being is actually a really blissful state when we release stories, or when we reframe our stories. But even when we release our stories, we realize that when we quiet that compartment of our mind, the ego, the victim stories, the fearful, then we return to our natural state of being. And our natural state of being is a state of bliss and peacefulness and contentness that is so rich, that is so everything, that we're seeking to pull ourselves sometimes down because we don't even feel deserving of feeling that good. We don't feel so deserving of just being present in our moment, of our job actually not being bad and something that we need to change, of our car actually being a great car and not something that we need to upgrade, our partner actually being a really reliable, incredibly sweet, kind human being that we don't need to dump for a more passionate lover. We can actually accept peace as a new standard when we allow the peace within ourselves. A lot of the work and the self-work is to reach a state of inner alignment, of inner harmony, so that our outer world begins to reflect that too, and we have an appreciation for it. And as you have an appreciation for what's around you, then you can do the part two, which is the going deeper. Because sometimes we have a gratitude and we have appreciation, but what we're lacking sometimes is curiosity. Because similar to the whole beverage, drinking some juice analogy, sometimes we just, this has like some electrolytes in it, but what we don't do is like, what's the temperature? What's it really taste like? Let's pretend this is juice and something more dynamic. And like really go into the depth for this, engage with it with all of our senses as this applies to our present. Maybe you're bored at your job because you don't feel like you connect with your coworkers. How can you have more curiosity for the people that are around you? How can you ask them deeper questions? How can you pretend that they are completely new to you and rediscover them? How can you in your home life go deeper? Can you sit with more presence? I love to sit on my bench and look at my roses in my garden. I love to notice the changes of the plants and the flowers, the new budding, and take notice and pay more attention and actually literally just smell the roses, sit and stop and smell the roses. That's what brings more richness and a gratitude and appreciation, is that continued curiosity as well for the people in our life, for what's around us, engaging with everything around us with more of our senses, because we think we know things on a superficial level, but there's always so many levels deeper that we can go if we want to enrich what's in front of us in the here and now. And there's so much richness for you to take in exactly where you are. You wouldn't be in the place that you are if there was nothing for you to learn there. The present has so much for us to notice, so much for us to engage with all of our senses, so much for us to appreciate, so much for us to have sparked curiosity towards again. For us to enrich. The ego is so loud, it shouts for our attention, it runs with stories of victimization, it wants to be dominant, and it has to be tamed. And so many of you know that I practice meditation, and I highly recommend that you do the same. I think it's an essential part of living in this modern world where we have advertising at our hands with phones, when we have so much coming at us, overconsumption of information that's inevitably creating mental health issues for so many individuals, because our minds weren't made to consume this level of information and aren't evolutionarily developed to be able to decipher fight or flight and what's relevant to us and block out the noise and tune into the essential parts. And so we have to be the curators of what we're consuming. And by being the curators, we have to start with the mind. We have to start by monitoring the information that is passing through us without us even picking up a phone or turning on the news. So I hope this week you can take 20 minutes in silence. You can sit with the affirmation, how can I enrich the present? You can say it as a mantra. You can say, I am enriching the present. However you'd like to take it. I find affirmations to be really helpful to bring our attention back to something vocally, something vibrationally that's in alignment with what we want to embody. So I hope that you do that. If you've enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe for more videos, more uploads each week. Thank you for tuning in. I'm wishing you so much more love, peacefulness, bliss state, richness here, now, in the present moment, not in a future that doesn't exist yet, right here and now. And I'm sending you so much love.